My name is David Rajuili. I'm the former WBF International Super Featherweight Champion and the former WBF All Africa Lightweight Champion. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's your host, David Rajuili. I'm back with another exciting episode on Ringside Talk. Tonight with me, I've got the one and only Hayden Jones, all the way from South Africa. A little bit about Hayden Jones. I think he's done more interviews with me in the past 4 years than I've had fights. He's one man who has, lifted up South African boxing in terms of speaking to fighters, letting people know what's happening in the sports of boxing around South Africa. He has done a lot of commentary on the shows in South Africa. He is now one of the main commentaries of ESPN boxing in South Africa that's happening in South Africa for 12 months. So you guys around the world can watch that. So enough of me speaking. Let's introduce you guys to Hayden. Hayden, what's up? Welcome to my show.
Yeah, thank you, David, for inviting me. Usually I'm the one asking all the questions, but it seems to be that tonight we're going to reverse the roles. I'm rather enjoying that. So thank you very much for having me on your show.
No problem, Hayden. As I said, hey, it's like, man, tell us more about you, Hayden. Who you are, where you grew up, what school you went to, brother.
Sure,
we would like to know.
Okay, so obviously a lot of people don't know this. I'm actually from KwaZulu-Natal in Durban. Then grew up for a great portion of my life in Johannesburg. And I attended Jeppe High School for boys. I know a lot of, well, not a lot, but some of the boxers at least have gone through that school, i.e. probably one of the biggest boxers, Brian Mitchell. He was a Hall of Famer, so that's a good representation on my behalf. Yeah, look, it was a short-lived time in Durban. I didn't even watch boxing when I was there. Boxing only came to me when I was in Johannesburg. As you know, most of the boxers end up making the trip to Johannesburg in order to, fulfill their dreams. So I think that's where, I caught on. I was like a typical South African guy, rugby, cricket, soccer, you name it, and then boxing bit me and it's been with me ever since.
Okay, that's also one question I wanted to ask you is how you got into boxing. I hear at school you didn't really do boxing.
No.
You were more in the rugby and the cricket and all. Firstly, actually, before we get into the boxing, I know you're more of a journalist and stuff. Is this you started at school or how did this come about?
No, so you see, I wasn't an academic. I'll be honest with you. Like at school, I wasn't like a big academic at all. It came to me like when I attended university, I completed my journalism qualifications. I then, just to walk you through, because I'll make it easy for you. I then started managing a boxing gym. From there, that was after I completed my qualifications. After that, it made sense for me to do boxing journalism. Tried this show called SABOXINGTALK out, this internet show. And obviously in the beginning, it was like, a couple of interviews here and there, but it kind of picked up around 2018. And that's when a lot of things in South African boxing kind of picked up. And media went a bit, crazy. And then obviously what I was doing was traveling to all the gyms around the country, which I've really enjoyed.
Okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Even that you didn't do boxing at school and you went on to university to do...
Oh, wait, hold on. I skipped one step. Sorry, David. Let me interrupt you there. I was an amateur boxer. Let's not forget that.
Okay.
Let's not forget, I was an amateur boxer. Before someone throws it out there when I'm commentating, this guy does not know what he's talking about. He's never thrown a punch. I've been punched in the face several times. I know exactly how it feels. I was an undefeated amateur boxer. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. Yeah. How many fights did you have?
Only 3. I knew. You know what? I knew when to call it a day. I knew when the pen was mightier than the sword.
That's interesting, brother. That's it. And where did you do your amateur boxing in Durban?
No, so I did my amateur boxing up at Boyson's gym, Nicky Ness. All my fights happened out of his stable.
Okay, nice. Okay, nice, man. And then the move to the boxing scene. I heard you say that you were studying journalism in university, and then that's where it all came in. Why boxing? Because I remember, as you said, in 2018, I think that's actually when I left South Africa, is because for me, South African boxing there was no fights unless you were with the big promotion, Golden Gloves or anything. So you were fighting, but there were no fights. Nothing was happening. Okay, we had Steve Karakoda in Cape Town, but there was no boxing in South Africa. Hence, I left in 2018. What made you now in 2018 take on the scene that looked dead, that looked like there was actually no hope because there was no boxing on TV? As I said, there were one promotion company that they were really using the Golden Gloves boys. It looked really dead. There was no funds coming in, you know. What got you to go into something that looked like it was dying?
Well, that's an interesting point because you kind of go into why I did get into the sport because it was dying. You know, I got into the sport because I could maybe provide something. At the time, my following was very small on social media. Everything was still, you know, there. So it was like I had nothing to lose by going into an industry where I could go and perhaps give these boxers exposure. You know, go in, as you said, 2018, you left. There wasn't much fights. That's exactly the time. It was sort of dying down. South Africa were limited world champions at that stage. You know, there wasn't much going on. So to come into the market at that stage, there was a massive gap. And then no one else has actually stepped up and done anything since then either, which I'm surprised about, to be quite frank. I'm surprised that no one else has actually tried their hand at this. Perhaps it doesn't make money, and that's probably why people don't do it. But, you know, you got to just look at the long game and realize that, you know, it's more about the benefit of everybody in the boxing scene. And I think that's where we've lost a little bit of way in South African boxing. Everyone's like nitpicking, this guy can't make it, this guy this guy that. Whereas like I was here to band everyone together and not get banned, but you know, that happened as the things go along.
Yes, and I will be honest. I still remember back in the days. I would hear about your show, and I saw your show, and what grabbed me about SA Boxing Talk was that you would go to the different gyms and you'll actually give these boxers exposure because, you know, I remember boxing is like, if you want to be a superstar, you need to get out there. You need to market yourself. You need to put yourself out there. The people need to know you. And yes, in South Africa, that is not as big as we see around the world, where fighters are groomed, fighters are put out there, you know. And what I saw with your show, you kind of set that platform where, wow, we knew this boxer, we knew about Lamini. Who is this guy? Who is this guy? Then we knew, oh, there's a camp. It's got this guy and this guy, you know, and it kind of opened up. And we even knew, okay, there's this guy at this gym, this guy's got this gym. Even the gyms kind of opened up. Oh, now there's 6, 7 gyms. There's 3 gyms in Eastern Cape that people didn't know of because of a show like yours. And I think, it gave a big platform. For me, I would say it really, really put a mark on SA Boxing. It's opened up SA Boxing. And how's everything going so long with your YouTube channel? Maybe tell the people how it's going.
I mean, the YouTube channel now has reached. I think it's almost like just short of 4,500 subscribers. I mean, let's be honest, and you know the South African public really well. It doesn't have a huge boxing following, so that particular subscription base is quite impressive for the times. I mean, it's growing, ever growing all the time, depending on how much effort you obviously put into it, which I've over the last couple of years put a lot of effort into going to different gyms, as you've seen. Yes. I have been to the Eastern Cape, I've been to the Western Cape, I've been to KwaZulu-Natal. So far, you know, that's 4 provinces. I haven't got to the likes of Free State. Actually, I've been to Limpopo before, so that'd make that 5. So look, and that's including other countries, Swaziland, the UK, Tunisia.
Remember you went to Saudi Arabia as well.
Saudi Arabia. Yeah, so the channel's traveled with the South African boxers that go abroad. And not every boxer that goes abroad, obviously, we got to be practical about who and when. But the times that I have gone with, it's been a hell of an experience. And, you know, obviously the huge titles at stake, WBC silver, the IBF world title with Maurizio Msalane recently when I was in the UK. So these sort of journeys that we're capturing and showing everyone, ordinarily we don't see what happens behind the scenes of these boxers, but we're giving them the insights into what's happening behind the scenes. What's the boxers going through? I mean, sometimes I'm pitching up a week before the fight. What are you thinking? You know,
yes.
It's an interesting perspective which you just don't get. I mean, some promoters, do like little snippets here and there, but doesn't give you enough substance to be able to tell exactly what's going on. And that's where we came in. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you there. And I think this is very important. I wish we had more shows like this where we can actually get into the boxers' minds prior fight and even after the fight. Especially if, I would say, the boxers that lose the fights, championship fights and stuff. Just, to get to know what they feel, what's the experience before and after a fight. I've watched some interviews of the guys before the fights and stuff like this. And it's great. Before, you never knew anything. You just get there, see the guy, especially here in South Africa. Like, before your show, I think we'll just watch what's All Access and stuff like that. Then we have your show. So,
do you know what it is? Do you know what it is, David? I'll paint it for you beautifully. Why our show is effective is because what we do is we take a scenario where there are two guys getting into a ring that they have a story all of a sudden. They have a pre-fight build-up all of a sudden. It's not just two random guys now stepping in the ring for the amusement of a crowd. It's two guys with big stories, backing from sponsors, all those different elements that go into fights that make it exciting. Why do you want this person to win and why do you want him to lose? So there's two different elements to it. And I think that's what makes the show very important.
Yes. That's good what you said, brother. And I feel you on that. Now, with regards to interviews, what would you say? Who has actually not what you say? Who has been your like the top your best interview you've had so far in terms of the international scale or your best interview you've had?
Look, I've had South African interviews are tough at times because South African guys are extremely reserved. They're very humble. They wish their opponents the best of luck before fights. It's only when I got to Saudi Arabia where I met a man called Prince Patel, who came in, and Prince Patel had lots to say. That sort of opened up my eyes to British boxing because British boxers talk. They talk and they lay it on thick. And I think without that being my personal best interview, I think that probably translates to the best interview for the fans on the channel.
Okay. Nice. And what would you say your most controversial interview? And
my most controversial interview is actually a two-part interview. It was a part interview where Colin Nathan and Reino Liebenberg were having a go at Peter Smith and Rowan Campbell.
Yes, I remember that, yes.
That did serious numbers. A lot of viewers, like number of shares. Everyone that watches boxing in South Africa wanted to watch those interviews because that was the sort of catalyst to what started off. Do you like Rowan? Do you like Reino? And I can tell you what, it was 50-50 down the middle. No more, no less.
Okay. Yes. Actually, it would be nice to have another one like that. And I think we are going down along those lines. If looking to SA Boxing right now, we've got Roy Knapp having his rematch maybe with Taser. And with that, I think with the controversial side of it, Roy Knapp's last fight with Ndomiso. It is Ndomiso, right?
In Ndombasi.
Yes. So with those three, wouldn't you say that this would now cause a lot of stir and hype in the welterweight division, right?
So this is actually what we call what we would say in South Africa is a junior middleweight division or a super welterweight division for our international audience.
Yes. And I was saying those three would be now the new rivalry, the three to look at, the three that could make the big fights like Liebenberg and Campbell. What do you think of that? Could we see any controversial with those? Because I see that they really want this rematch. Also in Cape Town, they really want this rematch. The Taser, they want the rematch with Roy Knapp.
This is the most unwanted love triangle possible out there at the moment because Ndombasi and Rourke Knapp needed to sort out their business before the Tayser and Knapp fight even came about. They needed that second fight first. Now, Ndombasi is going to stay idle on the sidelines while Rourke and Brandon battle it out. And fair enough, that's a big fight. I'm not taking anything away from it. It's a huge fight, the rematch for both guys. And obviously, Brandon Tayser had won that fight. But there's still that little question mark about Ndombasi. Where does he fall into this picture? Because
now you have these two guys, and he was there. He had a big controversial fight, which we're going to speak about just now.
Yeah.
Very, very crazy fight. I watched it, which we will touch on. I really want to touch on that fight. And yes, as you said now, the guy will be on the sidelines, and he has to watch this. Even now, I think his team, to see the headlines that there is a match happening with Tayser and York, it's like he is sidelined, And my opinion, I think he should get the chance first before the Tayser and York rematch.
Look, I think it's like this, right? So if we look at that, dissect that situation, it's like Ndombasi scored 3 knockdowns, right?
Yes.
So it's like I'm going to put like a football reference for you just to make it easy for you. It's like you score a hat trick in this game this week and you get benched for the next weekend. It doesn't make sense. You should be entitled to that rematch automatically.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that's why I think you should have that first before they go do the trilogy or whatever it is they want to do. Tell me now, going back to that fight, okay? I've spoken to a lot of analysts, a lot of guys that box, myself as a fighter. I'm just going to explain to the fans now that are watching. I think, so the guy got knocked down 4 times in one round. The WBA Africa title, right?
So WBA Pan-African fights. Look, he got knocked down officially 3 times, although he did get knocked down 4 times. He did get knocked down 4 times. The one knockdown wasn't counted, so it was three knockdowns. Per WBA rules, 3 knockdown rule, the fight's over. The referee should have stopped it there. Big mistake. Ndombasi did not protest immediately. This is the problem that I have with this fight now. So Ndombasi at that stage felt aggrieved. He went back to his corner. He still decided to come out in round number 4. After this all occurred in round number 3. The issue is he started getting destroyed by Rourke.
Started coming back, yes.
Yeah, Rourke started coming back in round number 4. So why quit in round number 5? There's a bit of suspicion for me. He saw the fight wasn't going his way, and he looked at that as a way out. Now, although the rules weren't applied, you still chose to come out and protest a round too late, which is a bad look on you as a boxer. You should have definitely come out and ended the fight then and looked to the referee and said,
Can I ask you a question on that one, Hayden? Is whose job is it though? Is it the boxer's job to know the rules? Is it the referee's job? Or is it my corner's job? Because I'm there to fight, okay? I'm knocking out my opponent 3 times down. I don't think, as a fighter, I'm thinking, hey, the oak's going down 3 times. I'm busy thinking, okay, go to my corner, look what's going on, catch composure, catch your breath, we're going back. Hence, I'm asking, who here should have said, okay, 3 knockdown rule? Is it the ref, which we do rules meeting prior? The ref always knows the rules. The coach should always know the rules of a fight, anything for the fighter, or the fighter. As a fighter, you should always know what the rules are. But I will take the fighter away to say, because I'm going to say, as a fighter, I'm not thinking about rules and stuff. I'm thinking, hey, I have to, what did we learn? Jab, this and that. You're not thinking rules, 3 knockdown. You're not thinking that. You're not, even if you get a cut, you're not thinking of what round am I in, how they're going to take points away and stuff. You're just thinking of going forward, winning this round. So what do you think of that, brother?
So, we all know that the referee's responsibility is to call the fight. After the 3 knockdowns, the referee can use to call the fight. However, in that instance, the referee didn't do that. And we all know that the referee was incorrect in the decision. I think that's a worldwide standard. WBA 3 knockdown rules, the referee should have stopped it after the 3rd knockdown. However, the referee didn't do that, right? So now you've got to just continue with the fight because you got a fight on, you can protest it after the fight. That sort of thing is out of your hands. But when you come into the situation where you essentially quit, because that's what happened, he ended up quitting, and it's a bad look. And I'm not saying that the decision is right by any stretch of the imagination. The decision is definitely wrong. It should have been a loss after the third knockdown. However, you got to keep going as a boxer. You can't just stop.
Yes, you can't just stop and be like, okay, I tried, but okay, it's not working out. No.
It's never going to go your way, because at the end of the day, even and you know this, even if that fight gets overruled down the line, it's still not a victory for you. It's a no contest. You don't.
Yes.
There's nothing that you can benefit from it apart from this fight now being declared a draw. But at that point in Ndombasi's career, he should have either continued fighting if he knew he was going to finish on his feet, or he should have ended it straight after the third knockdown. He should have celebrated and gone to his corner and showed that he won the fight.
Yeah, that's what I saw there, is when he went down in the corner, he should have said, yo, coach, I knocked him down 3 times. Do we go back? What's the story? That's what I feel. Every box is different. Really, I would love to see that fight again. I think it would be a crack of a fight, because they both have something to prove. It was only 4 rounds people got to see. I think Roy Knapp's got a lot to prove, and Ndombasi's got a lot to prove. And I really hope they make this fight. Man. Also, let's speak about South African fights. Some hot stuff is happening. Even I saying to my wife, I want to go back. I want to roll this. The junior lightweight division got a new South African champion, Sibusiso Singange. He's been very active in the past 4 years. He's had some bad runs overseas. Locally, he's doing so well. What do you see about Singange? I think for me, it would be even a lightweight, to see him go up to lightweight to challenge for that title. But before we get to that, what do you think about the new SA junior lightweight champions, Sibusiso Singange?
Yeah, I think Singange has come on in leaps and bounds. Obviously, we all know that he's found his challenges. He's taken some, desperation fights in like Russia, and some of those unnecessary fights that due to inactivity you're just going to have to go abroad sometimes. But I think for him, at the end of the day, his goal was always to become the South African champion. He had his eyes set on Pila Mpanchana for a very long time, who he deemed to be ducking him. I don't know what the case is and what the scenario is, but at the end of the day, the Singange that I saw get in the ring against Pila Mpanchana was an absolute different man to what I've seen throughout his whole career. I think he's leveled up his game. Yes. He there's certain aspects you can't change about your game, like he isn't a power puncher or anything spectacular in that department, but he is upskilled. He's getting a lot more attention, a lot more regular action, and that means a lot to a fighter. To be active is extremely big. It's a big thing, because you can put on your skills so long as you keep winning. That's the other thing. You got to keep winning as well to keep that momentum going.
Very, very true. And we look at for me, there's 3 divisions that could be exciting, because you got some boxers that could either go up, they could go down, they could make the divisions exciting. So it's the junior lightweight. The lightweight division, you've got who's the champion again? The lightweight champion.
The lightweight champion is Chifiwa Munyai.
Yes, Chifiwa Munyai. Also another guy I'd like to get in the ring with and have a rumble with. Also,
are you itching to come back and fight? What's going on here?
We'll get to that just now, brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yes, Munyai. Even him, very, very excellent boxer. Went to England for a few years, did his boxing in England, came back to South Africa, also came back as I left.
What you doing, man?
Came back to South Africa, doing very well. Unstoppable. He's defended 3 times. No one can stop him.
Well, no, he's on his 3rd defense now.
Yes, he's on his 3rd defense now. No one can stop him. He looks unbeatable. He's looking very strong. Tell us more about him. What do you think?
So I
about
think so. Here's what it is, right? So we got Chifio Munyai, who's the reigning lightweight champion. We had the four kings, you call them, in South African lightweight division, who were supposed to be in the tournament. Chifio Munyai, Lusando Komanisi, Ayanda Nkosi, and then
yes.
Nomeva Indongeni. Now, Nomeva moved up in weight, so we've taken him out of the equation. And then you still got an inactive Ayanda Nkosi hovering around somewhere. But the fight that everyone wants to see, David, the fight that everyone wants to see in South Africa, and I think it'll happen really soon, maybe not the next fight because Munyai has been booked for a fight, but the fight after that is Chifio Munyai versus Lusando Komanisi. I think that's the big lightweight clash at the moment. It's a power puncher versus as you know, Munyai is a very skilled operator with experience.
Yes. And what do you think if Singange had to step up a few kgs, come to lightweight? You think that he could bring some excitement to the lightweight division?
Look, I think it's premature. I think that Singange, obviously, he's on the higher side of his 20s now, so weight will become a question very soon. After 30, that things, obviously the clock stops and you start putting on a little bit of extra pounds. But look, I don't think he's ready for lightweight yet. There's a lot of big names there. And sorry, I forgot to name Azinga Fuzile, because Fuzile is at lightweight now. He's just moved up as well, but he's on the international part. So I wouldn't want to see that fight. I think it'll be quite the step up in competition. He can look at fights maybe against some of the guys towards, I don't think he beats the lightweight champions right now. I think he needs to defend his belt a few times, establish himself, get that championship rounds in, because it's a big difference when you're fighting for belts. When you start getting to belt level, that's when the challengers step up, and you got no easy fights. And that's where he's at now. He's got to sort of walk before he can run.
Yes, very true, very true. Then we look at the featherweights. We've got the 9mm there. He also was on my show the other day as IBO world champion. Lomati, also a brilliant boxer. Big things happening for that man. That's why I say these three divisions for me are very exciting divisions, because either guys can actually go up, or because there's not much weight division, but I know they'll stay in their weight. But if 9mm had to maybe come up a division to junior lightweight, what do you think about that?
So you know what, at the moment, David, I'm just going to quickly correct you. Laduma Lomati is actually a super bantamweight.
Is super bantam is 55. Yeah. So it's not.
He's a super bantam, but I mean, the transition from bantam to featherweight is relatively a small difference. Yeah. So whether he could step up, look, featherweight, I mean, that's a whole different ball game as well. So Africa's got some talented featherweights at the moment. We are seeing the SA champion Asanda Ginki. He's been touted. He's a good amateur boxer. Lerato Lights Out Glamini, I think, is by far.
Yes.
But Glamini is head and shoulders above everyone else.
Yeah. He's on. That's why I don't even speak about that. Like, he's on another level. he's on the way to a WBC world title. I mean, that's ballpark. Like that's the thing, and that's a common trend with South African boxers. You got like one or two special boxers, and then you got the rest. And I think that's when you mentioned Singange earlier. I felt that he still hasn't got to that icon level where he's But now tell me something about that. So would you say Singange hasn't got to that level? Now with Dlamini, he's got at least a team that can get him to that level. He's got a Colin Nathan, he's got that backing. Singange, he can be good. He doesn't have that kind of backing. Now, wouldn't you say that actually hurts a bit of South African fighters who should be fighting at that international level, because they don't have that management and that backing that could get them into the international level? It just keeps them locally. Do you think that's a bit unfair for some fighters out especially in South Africa, like African country?
Look, I see where you're coming from, like in terms of the connections, because inevitably ratings and opportunities come through connections, and it can happen the wrong way, because you could literally come in as an opponent, and as an opponent to someone that's connected, you usually been, stitched. They already know what the result's going to be. They've already plotted and planned for you well ahead of time. They've been preparing for you for years almost sometimes. with a guy like Zingange, I'll tell you what, I've been very impressed with his training team. I think his team has done a remarkable job with him, because there was a stage where he was inactive and he went back to his old gym, which he is now effectively his new gym was his old gym. And he's picking up from there. And I think that Zingange, before, he was in a gym where, he was not the sort of the top guy. I think Mbenge was the top guy, and that was sort of the flagship of that stage around the gym, and Nomeva and Maurice Matamba. I think Zingange was falling behind with regards to that. So now he's getting the attention, the much needed attention, and he's flourishing.
Yeah. That's very good. That's very good. So let's talk about some upcoming fights here in the world. And you're very good at this. I've got three of my favorite fights coming up. I've got the Canelo, beloved Russian guy. I'll be really honest with you. Okay? if I like a fighter, I just watch, I know about that fighter. So I'm very
Are we starting with the Canelo fights? Is that we're going to dissect this fight?
Yeah. Of course, I got Canelo winning that one.
But you know what? I agree with you. I have Canelo Alvarez winning the fight. The other thing is, like, Bivol is not the best guy in the light heavyweight division. Bivol is so Bivol's number 2. I'd say Bivol's number 2. Number 1 is Arthur Beterbiev. Beterbiev has got a 100% knockout ratio, much like Gennady Golovkin had for a very long time in his career as well.
And as we're talking now, like, do you think, I'm a Canelo fan, okay? But do you think these fights a little bit get chosen for these guys? Like, I'll be honest, for him to go up to fight Junior Makabu, I think that was a quick decision made to say, okay, this we can do very fast, this we can do very quick. It's a quick belt. This is what I feel. Maybe it's different, okay? Even for this kind of fight, because if you look, Canelo had 3 options, and he chose this option. Do you think he chose these options? They go in to say, okay, this fight would be an easier win. Then we get ready for the next one, because he's got Charlo and he's got, or do they say, okay, let's take a chance here because there is a 50-50 here?
Do you know the problem with Canelo Alvarez is that he does fight the best guys, right? So he's put himself in a position where he doesn't back down from fights. But there are so many fights that are linked with Canelo Alvarez. So if he picks Charlo, he's ducking Bivol. If he picks Golovkin, he's ducking Beterbiev. There's so many guys that you pick one and you're ducking someone. That's what the fans say. And I think that's the difficult position Canelo's in. To be honest, I don't think Canelo really cares. His paycheck is substantial. And I think people will watch him regardless. The whole of Mexico are going to watch him regardless. And America, he's got a huge fan base. And I'm not upset that he didn't pick Charlo. I think that at times PBC drag their feet and they don't necessarily put on fights like then and there. We often see the PBC fighters only fighting once a year. To be honest, I think Canelo went for the safe option on DAZN, and he said, okay, at least this year I'll be guaranteed to fight Dimitri Bivol, and then after that finish the year strong with Gennady Golovkin. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And then my favorite fights. I think this is going to be fight of the year. I think I also want to talk more about this fight with you. Valdez versus Stevenson. 2 gold medalists in Olympics. 2 great warriors. I would say in boxing terms, Valdez is the more experienced fighter, I think. More older, more experienced in that way. Stevenson, first let me hear from you. What do you think of that fight?
I think that this is a fight that we don't often see because fights like this don't usually get made. The best versus the best, right? And we're seeing that in the form of Shakur Stevenson and Oscar Valdez. Now, Valdez is a come-forward fighter. We know that he's all action. He's not going to let up for 12 rounds. But then you got a guy like Shakur Stevenson who's, man, have we seen skills like this in a very long time? I don't think so, because Shakur Stevenson brings something completely different that we haven't seen. And that's not to say he's boring, because more often than not, skillful fighters get labeled boring fighters. Not the case with Shakur Stevenson. He's got an all-round ability. He's a much-needed breath of fresh air. We needed someone like Shakur Stevenson to walk up and change the planes of boxing. And A lot of people have debated with me. They said, no, Oscar Valdez is going to run through Stevenson. I'm on the contrary. I think Stevenson will win this fight.
Really?
Honestly, I do.
Okay, I really think if Valdez fights like that Mexican he beat that he knocked out, where he came forward and he came to hurt him, and he hurt him. If he fights like that, very good. If he fights like his last fight, not so good.
Different levels of boxers, though, the guy that he knocked out compared to Stevenson. That's the other thing to factor.
Yes, that's another thing. And if Stevenson, I don't know. Yes, as you say, for me, he's not boring, okay? I'll be honest, he's not boring. It's a different style. It's a and for me, I'm a come forward fighter. I love that come forward action where you're just going that Mexican style of fighting. Now, how long can Valdez keep that up? And can Stevenson take that?
Are you there, David? Yo, David, you there?
David will be
you
back
there?
in a second here.
Is it him, not me?
Yeah, it looks like his.
And yeah, you know what? The internet in South Africa gets blamed a lot. Not the case today.
That's correct. Looks like his internet's just a little bit shoddy today. Sorry about this, chaps. We got some viewers here too. Stand by. He should be back any second.
Thank you.
Tell us who you got for the next fight coming up.
Yeah, well, Shakur. When we were talking about the Shakur Stevenson fights, I wasn't sure what the third fight for David Rajuili is, but Shakur Stevenson, I personally picked for that one as it's just a matter of a preference, because you have the come forward fighter against the sort of the skillful fighter. That's the pick me fight, depending on what style you like. I think they're relatively the same level, so I don't know if that's necessarily going to change people's opinion, because when you have a legitimate 50-50 fight just with a matter of different styles, I think that's what makes it interesting. It's not like one guy is a come forward fighter and the skillful fighter is just so much better, as we see with a lot of the grooming and the beginning of people's careers. This is completely different. And same with Valdez. He's been steamrolling guys that haven't been on his level. Now this is when two world champions collide. This is the next level of boxing, and I'm so glad this is happening, because typically these fights don't get made, and in the past, boxing, well, not in the past, actually in the past, boxing, I was actually doing a podcast the other day. We're talking about the best fighting the best 3-4 times over, doing a service for the fans, and it's not the same now. But boxing has become a pure business. Who can sell tickets, who can keep the O. Floyd Mayweather has created that. Keeping the O, so important. That's why when both of these fighters come up against each other, they both have O's. One of them is going to lose their O, or they won't, so they get a draw. But hypothetically, there should be a winner and a loser in this fight, and that's the risk that they incur. Now, back in the day, it's not a big risk. Right now, huge risk for the way boxing has been modeled. So that's the interesting elements, and why I'm happy this fight has been made, is because it's kind of proving that two world champions can unify quite early in their career. No problem. They both seem to be on the trajectories to go to the top and become a major force in the world. So again, that's just, testament to both of those guys and their promoters for going ahead with that fight. And I was hoping that David would be on right now because I'm waiting for that third fight to be presented to me. It would have been nice to hear his opinion on that as well. But just stepping back while we wait for David and talking about the Canelo Alvarez versus Dimitri Bivol fight, I felt that was an interesting matchup. I also mentioned that Jamal Charlo earlier in the piece would have been an interesting matchup as well. However, I don't know if financially it made sense for Canelo to take on Charlo, and I think it was Benavidez as well that was offered in the other contract on PBC. So he took the DAZN option, which was a fight against Bivol first, and then obviously went ahead and did and we'll finish up with Triple G should he get through Dimitri Bivol. Welcome back, David Rajuili, to your show.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much. We're having some problems here in Germany, not load shedding though.
Yeah, no, you see, South Africa, there's no problems here, man.
That's all right, eh? Yeah, but I was saying that, so we were speaking about Valdez and Stevenson, brother. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so I kind of informed the fans why I thought Stevenson would be, or your viewers rather, not fans, but the viewers, why I thought Shakur would become the victor in that fight. Although it is a 50-50 fight in terms of the skill sets, I just feel like, Shakur has a little bit of an edge. But yeah, it's interesting. What was that third fight of yours?
The third fight is Combosa. First, before we get into that fight, let's speak about this one man. For me, he just came out of nowhere. He just popped into the scene. Never heard of him. Didn't even think, to be honest, that there's boxing on that side of the world, in a little island called New Zealand. This guy came out of nowhere. I'll be honest, he reminded me of Arturo Gatti, the way he fought. And Combosa. That man.
Yeah.
Combosa,
you want to speak about him and him alone? I mean, he's the most wanted man.
Yes, just
in
him
the division
for now, and then we're gonna go on to the fights that has been proposed because so
George Kambosos is obviously getting a surprise victory. I don't think many people would have predicted him being Teofimo Lopez. Lopez was deemed to be the number one in the division. Obviously, he had all the belts, and he had beaten Vasyl Lomachenko as well. So when George Kambosos had beaten him, he then put a big mark on his back as the biggest fight in the division. Now he has all the belts. Now, I like the fact that he's an underdog and he's got an underdog story and he came out of nowhere. It's not often we see those stories nowadays because we often see them coming. They get built up really well. They get groomed. They get promoted really well and up and coming. Not him. He was a relatively unknown boxer coming into this fight. There wasn't much to him. He's got popular now. He's making the most of it. And the fights that he's been proposed now, I don't know, man. They are hard fights.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, is this a good thing? Is it because, these guys are groomed, you are prepared for a champ, okay? You slowly build up, you fight him, then you fight a bigger name, then you fight a big name, then you become undisputed champion. This is what I would say. Now you come out of nowhere. Yes, you fight a big name, you win, you become undisputed champion. Now every fight you have is these guys have been on a long road to become undisputed. They've beaten big champions to come to you. The fights are just harder and harder and harder. As he's got Henley after him, he's got Lomachenko. I think he was gonna fight Lomachenko until this whole thing happened now in the Ukraine. So Lomachenko's out of the equation, and for now, they're looking at Kambosa versus Henley fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight right there. That's a good fight.
Good fight right there.
That's a good fight for Devin Haney, I think. Devin Haney.
Why would you say stylistically? Because it will be a Danza promotion. Does this make it a good fight for Henley in that way? Or is it a good fight to say
technically,
Henley
so
has
was
worked his way up to a fight like this?
Well, I mean, as you know, the first where he won the belts on DAZN, did Kambosos Jr. He beat Teofimo Lopez, who Eddie Hearn was representing in this instance. I know Lopez is a top-ranked guy, but in this fight, Eddie Hearn put on the fight because he won the purse bid for this fight, so he had the rights to put it on, and I'm sure he's salivating at the thoughts of having another big fight, and this will be a unification bout as well, because there's one more belt outstanding, and that's the one that Devin Haney currently holds. When they get this done, there will be a unified lightweight champion of the world. I don't know if Kambosos, I mean, he put on a hell of a performance against Lopez, but in the same breath, I mean, he's got a great story. I don't know. Haney is, for me, the obvious contender to win the fight. The obvious contender is Haney. Yeah. But again, I said the same thing about Teofimo Lopez. So, that's where the questions start coming in is, does Kambosos Jr. give you the confidence that he's going to be going on a tear? I don't have that confidence as I had in like a Lopez or a Lomachenko or even a Haney. I didn't have that. I don't have, even to this day, that feeling. But in saying that, the way he came and beat Teofimo Lopez, I mean, I can't argue against his credentials. He's a fantastic world champion. He's definitely got the sauce to be able to beat a guy like Haney. So it's not that he can't win that fight. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying, like, if you had to put me on the spot and tell me to choose one, I'd probably go Haney.
Yeah. For me, I'll be also honest. I would go with Haney because for me, as a fighter as well, I would say how he's built himself up to get there, for me, is important. Also with the Lopez fight, a lot of people asked me about Lopez and Lomachenko. I went to Lomachenko. Lomachenko also, he built him. Yes, he won a world title at like his first fight or in the pro ranks, but he built himself to get there. You look at Lopez. Do you say now him beating Lomachenko, that was a fluke? Do you say now Kambosos beating Lopez, was that a fluke? These two fighters.
I don't think they're flukes. I don't think they're flukes.
Okay, you don't think so?
No, I think they're situational. It came down to the nights, what happened on the nights. Loma had some discomfort in his shoulder, and no excuses. Injuries are part of the sport, but Lopez he took full advantage of that as well on the night. Yeah. And I don't think. But look at what Teofimo did to Richard Comey. Like, you can't dispute that he's not he was a great champion.
Okay. And I think he will bounce back. Fimo Lopez, I think he would bounce back. Another fight that just for interest fight. I think Ryan Casillas, he's coming back. Little Ryan.
He's fighting Richard Comey.
To fight?
Is he fighting Richard Comey next? Richard Comey.
I don't know. To be honest.
Yeah, but anyway, him coming. Oh no, he's fighting Emmanuel Togo from Ghana. Yes. That's what he's. That's who he's fighting. I remember this. Togo, relatively unknown from Ghana. He's got a 32-1 record. He's surprising because he hasn't come out to the States early enough. He's kind of been sitting back in Ghana, and you often wonder when a fighter gets to like 33, 32-1, why they haven't taken the big trip yet. It's weird because, like, at that stage, surely the talent scouts have identified a guy that's going to become a world champion, or do you just sit at home for long enough and just build your name solely in one country?
This comes down to be really honest, and what I've seen around here, especially in Europe and stuff, it's your team that you got. Your team is very important. With a strong team, you can go all the way. With a strong team, you can be. What I've seen here in Europe, with a strong team, you can, in 6 fights, they can make you a world champion. You can become actually a champion, because your team builds, your team puts you out there. If you look at places like Ghana and stuff, that's third world countries, like African countries, we don't have that kind of exposure that gets the fighters out there, that people are talking about the fighters out there. For instance, Dlamini, South Africa, he was under Russell. But if you go on to, you speak about him in America and stuff like that, who's this like, some African guy, he's a silver champion. No one really knows him because he's not there. He's not in the people's faces. He's not.
So David, I'll give you a great example, right? And maybe it is because he has good connections. But Zolani Tete, relatively unknown worldwide before he knocked out Paul Butler in the UK, and that's when he made a name for himself. Now that's an extreme example of guy making his mark, and I think he ended up getting a huge fan base in Liverpool, and they ended up putting him on at the Eco Arena more often than not, and that's where he built a name. Now you can't do that in South Africa. You simply can't do it. So guys pick the wrong fights to take when they go overseas. And that is down to management. You're right. Management and connections. They take the wrong fights. They taking this Olympic gold medalist. He's 5-0, relatively unknown, and they end up getting pumped, knocked out, destroyed because they're taking the wrong fights. They're not taking the right fights at the right level, and they're getting often put into bad situations. They're in terrible hotels. The whole shebang. It's a whole experience that, and some people don't have a choice, bro. Let's be honest. Some people just don't have a choice. They take what they can get.
Yeah, it's true. And I think for that Ghanaian guy, he's 31 and 1. He's from Ghana. Nobody knows about him. He will fight Ryan. It's his chance now to make his mark because he beat Ryan Garcia. He's now in the top 4.
Well, look, I mean, that's what it's down to, because Ryan Garcia has a status. He's got 10 million followers on Instagram. I mean, to beat a guy like that, you can cut it. You'll cut your arm off for an opportunity like that, because Ryan Garcia isn't a world champion.
I think what's happening with that, on my opinion, is he's kind of actually dropping too much of what's happening in the gym. I think with him leaving Eddie's gym and doing his own thing and not taking fights, and then it's this fight and then it's Instagram stories and all of this. It's like, bro, we want to see fights already. Bro, we don't want to hear stories. You know what I'm saying? So I think people are
Sorry, I'm just changing my position.
No problem. People are starting to lose interest in the guy. They want to see him fight more than him having a lot to say or him pulling out of fights. Or yes, there is this mental health situation. There is this. Then recover. Take time off. Don't come back. Say we're gonna fight. Then no, I'm not fighting. Then coming back. Then changing gyms. Then coming back. Then I'm sick again. Then people lose interest. It's what's happening, bro. What are you really doing? But
yeah, no, I hear you on that.
So what is he doing?
But do you know what? To be fair to Ryan, right? He obviously had his problems. He's changed trainers again, what we've seen. But he's got a huge social media following, so he never goes quiet completely. He does his, I mean, we as boxing purists, and I know exactly where you're coming from. We're losing track of his boxing career. I think his relevance won't go away. He's similar to in the same mold as an Oscar De La Hoya. He's a bit of a party boy. He's a bit of a, someone that's always going to be an interesting character. So no matter what you do, you're always going to take an interest in his career. He's one of those guys that he'll walk into a room and you can feel their aura. You'll immediately say, hey, that's Ryan Garcia. That's, you can't mistake yourself to do that. Even though he's not a world champion, he has that aura, which is, it's an amazing feat.
Yes, I feel you. Well, yeah, man. But yeah, brother. And just a few more questions, my bro. Besides the boxing and stuff, just more about Hayden. If you had to the world was ending, you had 30 seconds to pack your 3 favorite foods. What would that be, brother?
To pack away food?
3 favorite foods, quickly. Boom, boom, boom.
Ooh. Oh man, but that food's gonna go off. Like sushi, I love sushi, man. Love sushi. But these foods are not sustainable, David. They will not last very long.
Quickly, top of the head, what would you pick? You got 30 seconds to choose quickly, or 3 top
All right,
foods.
30 seconds to choose my 3 favorite foods. Sushi.
Yeah.
I like a good lamb curry, and I like pizza. Straight up.
Okay. Lovely. 3 favorite
none of them
fights
healthy.
in all time.
3 favorite fights of all time. Let me think about this one, actually, because I watched a lot of fights and I enjoy a lot of fights. I enjoyed the first fight between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez. I enjoyed Sugar Ray Leonard against Duran number 2, the second fight between those two. And I it's going to be strange, but I actually enjoyed the second fight between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Just like the whole, Tyson Fury coming back and dominating after all that stories about his mental health and everything like that. Like, I'm by the way, I'm not even a fan of either guy. I just love heavyweight boxing.
Okay, lovely. Your 3-time South African legend boxers. Top 3 legend boxers. Not current, legend.
So what year
legends.
does that cut off? Okay, so Baby Jake was my first.
Yeah.
Love Baby Jake. He was my number one legend. Obviously, my dad watched a lot of him because my dad was from KwaZulu-Natal, so he watched a lot of Baby Jake. Sure, I used to like Corey Sanders as well. Again, there's the heavyweight connection. Used to like some of that, and actually more recently, because I've been watching some of the legends. Sebastian Rothman. Although he's a great coach now, he was a very good fighter as well.
Okay, nice. And brother, we've actually come to the end of our show. And any closing comments you want to do, or even tell us how we can watch your show? And before we close, actually, we're going to go a little bit over. I need to know about ESPN Africa.
Oh, I thought you were forgetting about it. Obviously, you went offline for a few minutes.
Asked
so
you that.
Yeah.
ESPN Africa. Before we start there, quickly, let me just tell the fans, okay? ESPN Africa is a new boxing show in South Africa that will be televised for 12 months. 1 show or 2 shows a month. And
one show a month for the whole year.
1 show a month, 12 shows. And on ESPN Africa, Hayden is the main commentary. And tell us a little bit more about that before we close, and with some closing statement, brother, please.
No, thank you very much, obviously, for the platform again. Yeah, so the ESPN commentary started this year. Fantastic step in my career, personally. I had done a lot of commentary gigs leading up to this one, but when ESPN comes calling, there is no saying no. ESPN's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, broadcasting sports platform in the world. And when they opened up their African division, it was, I took that opportunity with both hands. To be on there calling fights, that's my dream. I love calling fights. I love analyzing fights, and I love just fighting, boxing in general. So that for me was a big plus. I've jumped on board also with Kotso Ramopo as well as commentator. There's going to be a lot of developments happening. Obviously, I can't speak about that because things are coming in Africa. Boxing is coming. It's in a big way. And I'm excited to see basically what is to come and what is going to unfold. And if you want me to close the show, David, I'll be more than happy to do so, because I'm always the one handing it over to the other people. Who would you like to like? Thank you, shout outs, whatever it is. So I'm assuming that's the next step of this program.
Yes.
And I'll take it because you've given me the go ahead. I can see. Man, I'd firstly like to thank every show. More importantly, listening and hearing my side and hearing who I am and what I'm bringing to boxing within South Africa and now Africa as well. I'd like to thank you, David Rajuili, for having me on the show. I know I've had you on my show plenty of times, so that's a plus that we got to swap roles for a day. And to everyone out there that wants to gain access or have a look at my show, what I'm doing, it's SABOXINGTALK, as David said earlier in the show, on YouTube, but obviously all the other social media platforms as well. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Follow them all if you can, if you want to keep up to date with all things happening in Africa and boxing, and see the unidentified talents before they become on the world stage.
Thank you very much, brother. And going forward, I will have a lot of more guys from ESPN Africa coming on the show. I will be interviewing some fighters, some post-fighters, maybe get some Gange on here as well, some champions, and speak to the guys and see what's happening. And once again, Hayden, thank you very much, brother. Maybe you will see me up there in South Africa coming to do something. If not,
so you're saying what you want to do is you want to get onto ESPN Africa, is what you're trying to tell me.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to do.
Nice. Very nice.
We'll see. I'm not finished yet with the boxing, that's for sure. The guys will definitely be seeing me in the ring by the end of this year. But yeah, man, my closing statement is thank you very much for your time, brother, and wish you all the best with your YouTube channel. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you for being on our show. And yeah, good luck on the future. Good luck with ESPN. And thank you very much, Hayden.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
having
to
me.
all
It's
the
an absolute
viewers,
pleasure.
and stay with us. We will be here next week for another episode of Ringside Talk with your host, David Rajuili. Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Thank you, Hayden.